Oh, hello. Do you know that in this very enchanted woodland I met the Princess of Ata'Landa? I have written about her, her exciting adventures, the intriguing people in her life. Her name is Illat, which in the ancient priestly tongue of her people means sun-born child of the moon. Now, our princess, strictly speaking, is not a storybook princess, not a fairy tale princess, but she lives in a time of wonder, of mystery, magic. She lives in a time of splendor. So, it's not entirely surprising that at some point in her life she should meet up with a sorcerer and a dragon. Presently, I will read a short excerpt from the book entitled Daughter of the Moon by S.C. Viola, yours truly the author, in which I will describe for you the circumstances under which our princess encounters the sorcerer and the dragon. Let me now set the scene for you. Illat has had to endure a long, miserable, snowbound winter in a house in the wilderness in the company of people she cannot abide. Finally, a day dawns in which the sun appears. She bundles herself up in furs and ventures outside for the first time in months. To her chagrin, two adolescent girls and a young matron with a little boy have exactly the same idea. So they all tramp off through the snow together and only stop when they finally reach the broken face of a cliff. A split second before she was consciously aware of it, she sensed that something was poised at the top of the cliff. It slithered down on its belly with the aid of heavily muscled legs that ended in five-toed talons. Atop the horned cranium, and running the length of the spine to the tip of the long scaly tail, in vivid contrast to the steely blue of its nubby body, flared a scarlet crest. Slit eyes glowed from within bony-ridged cavities, over which long, fleshy polyps bobbled, as if with a life of their own. The long, pinched snout, which was covered as well in these rubbery protuberances, expelled plumes of vapor and was opened wide over a hiss that sounded like an erupting geyser. Forked tongue flicking out, the creature emitted a burp and with it a telling stench that left no doubt that it was a flesh-eater. Switching from side to side, its powerful tail sprayed snow and small boulders as it closed on the imperiled women and one tiny child. The din of screams and wails terminated in gasps as the head darted forward on a long, sinuous neck, and from his mother's arms snapped up Arelane. Up into the air the child was tossed, his limbs sticking straight out from his body in a way that made him look for all the world like a rotund shooting star. On his descent, his clothing snagged on the beast's lower toothy mandible, and there he dangled by a shred. The princess whipped off her scarf and waved it frantically. She had little recourse beyond insults. "Stupid, lumpish hellspawn! Over here! Over here!" The behemoth cranked its head about, causing its flexible nodules to flatten like wheat in a gale. It contemplated its challenger, forked tongue darting, as it weighed the threat to itself from so insignificant a quarter. It was more interested in the annoyingly out-of-reach morsel hanging from its jaws. As Illat continued to taunt it from below, it shook its great head from side to side in an effort to dislodge the boy, causing Arelane to howl in fright. The child's clothing finally gave way, and he plummeted to the ground, where he lay unmoving. Illat lunged in. Hot, flaming vapors now issued from the creature's flaring nostrils. Gagging, she held her breath and snatched frantically at Arelane's limp little body. As she stumbled away, the liquefied footing under her had her sinking into a pool of freezing slush. Unable to struggle further, she clasped the unconscious boy to herself and prayed for a merciful end. A wind came blowing out of nowhere. Ras Surfage hovered over her, his long black ringlets streaming back from his face, his billowing crimson cloak showing bright as sails against the monotonous white of the landscape. He commanded the scaly monstrosity with a crystal cylinder whose six-sided tip projected a thin blue beam. The monster loosed a cacophonous trumpeting of rage and pain as the beam hit it squarely in the snout. It took only one such sally before it began to back off. Then, snorting and snuffling, it slowly retreated up the sheer cliff, leaving in its wake a fresh swath of exposed rock, to say nothing of an evil odor. When it had gained the top, it unfurled semi-transparent, fragile-looking wings that were yet designed to support its ungainly bulk in flight. Flapping these delicate membranes vigorously until it had gained lift, it levitated gracefully into the air. Moments later, it was swallowed up in the brittle winter sky. The mall here spoke first. "You have just made your acquaintance with the ancestral spirit that yet rules the Anzori. With a primogeniture like that, is it any wonder that the people of the dragon are so unruly? But you had nothing to fear. I assure you it was mere illusion." The princess was fuming. In her arms she cradled the monster's littlest victim. His traumatized mother remained in a dead faint, while the two girls clung together in mindless terror. "Of all the contemptible show-off stunts," he pled, a hint of effrontery in his tone. "I say again, a harmless illusion, my lady. You were never in any danger. My intention was to reveal, in a fanciful way, the character of the people who have taken you in. The very same who have taken you in, sorcerer." Illat laid the child on the ground, removed his mittens, and vigorously began rubbing his little hands. It was hard to understand the point of such outrageous mischief. "You miscalculated if you thought that such a ridiculous antic would improve my opinion of you, Rossifage. Ah, Illat, you do know how to wound me, but I confess I erred in an attempt to impress you. I had thought the greater fool, all the more quickly disparaged, would offer jewels and other tawdries. Accept my apology, and my protection at least. Look, it's beginning to snow again." In all the excitement, the darkening skies had gone unnoticed, and now a sudden snowfall was dropping a fresh blanket of white. "There are real beasts of plenty prowling between here and your house," the Malheur made mention. They had not gone far when slinking four-legged shapes materialized out of the swirling snow. The girls whimpered and clutched each other. Illat had never seen wolves up close. Big and black and red-eyed they were, and menacing when their muzzles pulled back from their formidable fangs. Low snarls and growls erupted from them, but when the Malheur spoke, they simply turned and melted into the background. The exclamations from the women were a profound relief. The rest of the way was uneventful, and presently they arrived back at their doorstep.